Alrighty. So we are back with Legends. Everything wrong with Legend ZA. Oh boy. So I don't know what possessed me to make one of these videos, to be honest. I didn't think I would ever make a video critiquing somebody else's video, but there's just something about Mr. Verlicifer here. Verlissa wrong, where he's just a contrarian for everything. And for someone who really sees the potential in Legends ZA, I want to hear out his thoughts for everything wrong with Pokemon Legends ZA. And I just want to hear what he has to say about it. I don't want to watch his video in HD. His video, I could probably care less. Okay. But this is everything wrong with Pokemon Legends ZA. Um, I know he's a contrarian. I know he's probably gonna say some crazy shit. But I just want to hear him out on why Legend ZA is so bad of a game that you not only have to call it bad one time, not only have to call it bad two times, but like three whole videos on why Legend ZA is bad. So let's get into it. If you haven't already, be sure to like and subscribe. Or don't. I don't care what you do.
Impossible challenge for Pokemon Legends fans. Try actually watching the video and refuting my points before making a comment. The game not being out yet is not a valid argument because we
It most definitely is a valid argument. The game not being available. Actually, wait a second. Wait. Isn't this the guy when Dexit was going around that said that literally told us to wait for the game to come out before judging it? This is the same guy around when Sword and Shield came out that told us to wait for the game. Wait, what was it? Wait before calling it bad. Like, wait until it came out. Wait until you played it. And now his stance here is. Hold on. And now his stance is. Wait for the game to come out is copium. Or cope. Interesting. Very interesting. So which one is it, Verlizify? Is it wait for the game to come out, or is it if we have to use that as an argument, then we're coping. But okay. Oh.
have gameplay, we have details about what the game is. This is promotional material. It's an advertisement for the game, and Pokemon has never drastically changed the systems that they've shown. The game's coming out later this year, and it's getting pretty close to being finalized, so we're not going to see many big changes. And again, this is true of every Pokemon game. So if it looks underwhelming or not good, there's not much room to improve on, and even the most dedicated Pokemon Legends fans have to admit, you have to be honest, that the game taking place entirely within Lumio City is objectively a bad thing. We can
No. Well, I mean, you're not fully. He's not fully wrong here. I don't think he's fully wrong here because it depends. It has potential to be good. That's one thing about Pokemon Legends as an entire thing. Pokemon Legends is the series on that has more potential than the mainline games. Like as we've seen from Scarlet and Violet, oh boy. Like there was a lot that Legends Arceus had that Pokemon Scarlet and Violet took out. Like catching Pokemon without even needing to battle them when literally Go does that in the anime series. And stuff like what else? Being able to bring out your full party and things like that. Like Legends is that series to experiment where they can experiment and where they can really push the boundaries of Pokemon. With this game being like this, I could see this being a test for like a regional size Pokemon game, right? Like we even seen the terrarium where they had like multiple different biomes, and this is what it kind of reminds me of.
cannot get a regional-sized adventure inside of the city. And
This is as big as the DLC. Like, if this is the accurate size of the whole city and like the character is as small as like these roads, this is actually like looks as big as the terrarium, to be honest. Like it could be. Because we even have more in Lumios. Like we have, I'm not gonna put it in HD. I'm probably gonna edit over it or something. But we have stuff like bridges connecting to other parts of the city and things like that. And we have, let's see what else we have. We have like other towers that we've never seen before. Like there is like more added on to Lumios to make it that terrarium size. Like the terrarium was big enough to be its own region. And I could arguably make the same argument for I forgot what the other place was called in the first DLC. I can't remember it right now, but what I'm looking at right now is that this is a giant city. Like, honestly, I'm gonna cross my fingers. This could potentially be as big as like a GTA style like city, but you know, there's no potential here. This isn't like this isn't region sized. Not like any of the areas inside of Legends Arceus was region sized either, but he hates those games too. So, oh shit. Oh, I can just hit spacebar.
what makes it worse is we never got a Z version. We never got to revisit Kalos, and Kalos is the least time we've ever spent in a Pokemon region. 1 year. And then we went to Omega Ruby and Alpha Sapphire, and the remake game of Hoenn, a region we've already spent a lot of time in, they got the year off before Pokemon Sun and Moon. So we have so much more potential in the entire region, all the exploration, all the cool areas inside of Kalos that we're just never going to see in like higher resolution
Okay.
Nintendo Switch console
I mean,
version.
he's not wrong here either.
So yeah, like you're not going to be able to get as good of a game just taking place inside of the city. And that also brings us to another really big problem about being in the city. An objective downgrade for all the systems that have existed since Generation 8. The wild air.
Hold on. Mm. Mm-mm-mm. So he says for all the systems. Hold on. I want to know what he like means by all the systems because honestly, I don't see a downgrade from what games did he say? Legends Arceus or previous games? But let me see what he means here.
Area is now a wild zone. The large areas of exploration in Pokemon Legends Arceus have now been turned into small little areas in the city that also don't make a lot of sense and just kind of shows this is why I don't like Pokemon Legends Arceus either. Every aspect of it is careless and doesn't make sense. So
What?
this is an effort to help humans and Pokemon use the city by cramming them in small areas where they are just existing to be farmed by.
They aren't crime. They what? They aren't what? They aren't crammed in small areas. Later in the trailer, like you guys could go back and watch the trailer or I can edit over it. I don't know how much editing I'm gonna do in this video, but in another parts of the trailer, in different parts, you can see like you can fight Talonflame in an area that's outside of the wild zone. And let me go back. I'll fit it with wild zones in an effort to help. Like you can still do the same thing out of these zones. Like if you go back and watch your trailer, you can do these things outside of the zone. You can fight a like you fight a Talonflame on a roof, and I forgot there's another part in the trailer where I think it's the mega part where you fight Pokemon outside of the zones. Okay. But yeah, they're all being crammed here. We're just coping, guys. We're just coping.
By children. This is not a cohabitation project for Pokemon. This is a hunting ground, and it's going
Do we not know what cohabit means? Cohabitate means? It means two species inhabiting the same area. I think humans and Pokemon are cohabiting the same area. Every Pokemon game except Legends Arceus have Pokemon. You can make this argument like the Safari Zone hasn't existed since Generation 1. Like, what are you going on about, bro?
Going to be less exploration and less expressive than actually visiting parts of the region. And this is also very similar to what we just experienced in Pokemon Scarlet and Violet. So it's not even bringing us a new experience. That we just had a larger area of artificial biomes in the Blueberry Academy. Everything about Pokemon Legends ZA is either a downgrade in the Legends series or just does not hold up to the main series other games. And also, here's the thing about Pokemon Legends and Let's Go, confirmed main series by Game Freak. So if you say, oh, it's not main series, so, you gotta give Game Freak credit for trying, or this is where they're doing experimental stuff, that's cope.
It's not cope. They are doing experimental features in these games. That's not cope. It's what they're doing. Like, how is this cope? Actually, how are you gonna say this is cope when you can defend Pokemon Let's Go for being experimental? This is why I'm so confused, bro. This is why you confuse me. This is why putting on this contrarian like persona, it just doesn't work. Dude, you defended Let's Go for being experimental, and now you're saying because Legend ZA is being experimental that it's cope. Like, what?
That's also kind of showing, oh, you actually think Pokemon Legends ZA is a bad main series game, since the defense is it's spin-off, so it doesn't matter. Or, oh, Game Freak tried. Those aren't good measures of anything. You don't get an A for effort
That's the measure you use to use. That's literally what you measured for Pokemon Let's Go and Pokemon Sword and Shield. But okay.
when your overall end system is terrible. Which brings us to the gameplay loop that
Oh
we're also
boy.
just here to fix incidents. So instead of having a full adventure in the Kalos region or any region inside of Pokemon, we're just a lackey to fix the problems that are happening from the bad idea of having the wild
Yeah.
zones inside of Kalos. And this is very reminiscent of what we saw back with Pokemon Legends Arceus. That I read the web page, or I read the website. I actually looked at the game details, and people got mad at me. I went, wow, catching a Pokemon just once not being enough to fill out the Pokedex and the entire progression being about the Pokedex, that sounds really bad and tedious and unfun. And people said, no, it's not going to be that because, oh, that
No, we didn't say that. We said that there would be more to that system, and there was more to it. Well, not more to like the system, but more to the game than just that. Your argument was that the whole game was just filling the decks when there are when the page literally showed you a boss fight in the game. Yeah, your argument was literally just the only thing you do is fill the decks, which is that's not the only thing you do. You didn't read you didn't even read anything about the side quest in the game either. You just assume that all you are doing is catching Pokemon and filling out your decks. I mean, that's like the main gameplay loop.
that's the inability to accept reality and cope because no, it's Legends, it's different, it's open world, even though it isn't. And like all these other things, we're just like,
No one said it was open world either. You're pulling these arguments out of your ass, dude. No one said that the game wasn't open world or was open world. We knew that. They told us it was open areas. Nobody argued with you that it was open world.
but it looks nice. People like the idea of Pokemon Legends, and they like the idea of the expansion of the main series, but objectively, the systems do not function good, and
If the systems didn't function good, the game wouldn't have a what was it, a 9 point something rating? If this wasn't good, then people wouldn't be praising this game like they have been. Like we have been, I should say, because Pokemon Legends Arceus is actually a really good game. Really addicting game. Like going around and catching Pokemon in that game like you do is really fun. But that's just in my opinion. But no, 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 no. We're just coping, guys. We're just coping.
They do not expand upon Pokemon, and they're not what people systems do not function good, and they do not expand upon Pokemon, and they're not what people
What do you mean they don't expand upon Pokemon? What are you? What? So you're telling me, right? So let me bring Sword and Shield back. Let me bring Sword and Shield back in its wild area. If you compare the wild areas of Sword and Shield to the open zones of Pokemon Legends Arceus, there is a clear night and day difference, and there is a clear improvement to what you can do in those. But I don't see what you mean by there's not. What did he say? An improvement upon Pokemon as a whole?
the systems do not function good, and they do not expand upon Pokemon.
Expand. He uses the word expand. They actually do expand. You do more in Legends Arceus to catch Pokemon than you do in Sword and Shield and Let's Go. You literally do. Even more than you do in Pokemon Scarlet and Violet as well. But guys, we're just coping. We're just coping.
And they're not what people claim that they are. That we already had the wild area for Pokemon Sun and or not Sun, Pokemon Sword and Shield. So what Pokemon Legends did with the areas didn't improve on.
No, it did. It literally did. Wait, is he talking about like the areas themselves? Actually, no, the areas themselves did too. There's more. There's literally the wild area of Sword and Shield literally makes absolutely no sense as they put a desert right beside grass, right beside snow, and have it so it could like snow, and then you walk in the very next area and it's fucking raining. And then in the next area, it's fucking sunshine and rainbows. And mid battle, the fucking weather can just go crazy. Like, the areas of Legends Arceus actually make sense and like coexist with each other. You don't have it like snowing in a fucking muddy fucking swamp area.
It wasn't open world. It was the same thing as the wild area in Pokemon Sword.
It wasn't the same thing as the wild area. It was bigger than the wild area. It was bigger than all of the Sword and Shield areas that were wild.
And Shield DLC. So there was no upgrade there. There was nothing else. Pokemon Legends Arceus is just a glorified tech demo with a horrible gameplay loop. And then yeah, it's like after you finish your survey work, you'll return once more to prepare for your next task. Isn't isn't that just fun? Isn't being a lackey just super fun? I said like this is bad. The
You aren't a lackey in that game. You're really not. Yes, you work for the Survey Corps, but you're like the best member of the Survey Corps in that game. And then in that very same game, one of four of the quests is calming down the super powerful noble Pokemon. I can't see how a random lackey, like, you can't convince me that a random lackey in that game, unless you haven't played it, that a random actually, you didn't play it. You played it for 2 hours, turned the game off, and then went to go play Pokemon Unite. But, anyways, in that game, not a single person can quell the Pokemon, and then towards the end of the game, you actually summon legendary Pokemon. I'm not sure if a lackey can do that. But again, you only played the game for 2 hours, so you wouldn't know.
gameplay loop with the catching Pokemon is going to be bad. And then I was right about everything. And
You weren't right about everything. You really weren't.
suddenly people just were like, yeah, but now it's a good thing. Even though no, that is very unenjoyable gameplay.
You played it for 2 hours, turned it off, and played. You didn't finish the game.
And that's also already on the Pokemon Legends ZA website, where the hotel serves as your base for you and your friends to tackle all the incidents that occur in the city. And it's the same kind of gating that we saw in Pokemon Legends Arceus. You're on a rail, you go to thing, you complete.
You aren't on a rail in that game. You aren't on a rail at all. You just played the game in a linear. I literally watched your 3 hour stream. You played the game in a linear way. I literally saw you do that. We all saw you do that. You played the game in a linear way, complain for 2 hours, even remember you went to Scarlet and Violet and like used it as a critique for Legends Arceus that you were able to fight the seventh gym leader first. Or the eighth gym leader first, whichever the psychic one was. You chose to play that game in an unlinear way, and you chose to play Legends Arceus in a linear way and prove like and try to make a point off of that.
Complete it, you get forced back into the hub, and then that happens for
You never get forced. The only time you get forced back into Jubilife is when you quell the not quell the beast, I'm sorry. It's after the tutorial. That's the only time you're forced back. Any other time you can choose to go back. You're not forced back. But okay. But no, we're coping, guys. We're coping.
however artificially long the story and game needs to be padded out to make you pretend that you didn't waste $60. So now it's like kind of this. We already have the website telling us how the game is going to play. And that doesn't have like any good signs or anything to defend. And that's why I mean also when the arguments are, well, you have to wait until it comes out to know for sure. It's like, oh, that means you have nothing to defend about the game right now. Or oh,
I have a lot to defend. The game has a very unique combat system never before seen in a previous Pokemon game that also expands upon the previous game's battle system. That's my defense. And I'm sure you're going to talk about it in this video, and then you're going to be completely wrong about it and call it garbage and call it nonsensical mess because your vocabulary is literally 5 words.
they're just experimenting. You got to give them some credit for trying. Oh, that means they actually what they made was actually bad. And
No, no, it's really not. But okay.
you're trying to give points for effort, but that means like okay, the result is they failed to deliver a better experience. And then we have the catching Pokemon and battling gameplay loop where if you just look at it for any amount of time, it doesn't seem enjoyable at all. From the screenshots and the gameplay we have, the amount of experience we get seems to be
That fucking screenshot right there. Now to tackle your previous point earlier, that screenshot right there literally confirms that you can battle Pokemon outside of those battle zones. But he's gonna completely ignore it because it doesn't support his argument and he just wants clicks.
pretty much the same as other Pokemon games.
It's not the same as other Pokemon games. It's not the same at all. It's not the same at all. But okay.
Except now the battles take longer.
They don't take longer, they're actually faster. Actually, we don't even know if they take longer or not. You want to know how? Actually, I don't even have to know if they take longer or not. The game doesn't have to tell me. You want to know how I know? Because in Scarlet and Violet, it takes you 5 minutes to run from a Pokemon. Because as soon as you get it in battle, it has to think about the Pokemon you're fighting. Then you have to throw out your Pokemon. Then you have to select a move. Then it has to think about the move that you selected. Then it has to go through the animations. And then it has to think about what has to happen next. And then it has to think about fucking bringing the menus back up so you can do it all over again. In this, the battles are conveyed in a way to where actually, yeah, they're actually conveyed in a way to where you could like seamlessly get in a battle and then seamlessly get out of it. For a battle system like this, not one time did I see the menus, did I see the game have to think about what to do next. But no, we're just coping, guys. We're just coping. The battles are slower because they're actually faster.
Or there's more that has to happen inside the battles if you don't just insta catch the Pokemon, which is also going to require sneaking mechanics. Some Pokemon
They don't require sneaking mechanics. He literally did we watch the same trailer? In that very screenshot that you showed, it's actually from the trailer on where he walks up to the Pokemon and just throws a Pokeball and it catches it. What are you talking about?
don't just insta catch the Pokemon, which is also going to require sneaking mechanics. Some Pokemon will flee immediately if they spot you, so you need to hide out of sight and become harder to notice.
Know how it says some? That fletching right there doesn't run from you.
So it's going to be like Pokemon Legends Arceus, where the catching mechanics are deliberately nerfed that we have to.
They aren't nerfed. They're actually buffed. They're buffed by the fact that you don't have to get in a battle and weaken them anymore. Their catch rates are actually buffed for that very reason.
Interact with the features a bit more as intended instead of walk into grass, KO or catch Pokemon like that, and then progress.
It's not that fast. It's really not that fast. It's faster to catch a Pokemon in Legends Arceus than it is to catch a Pokemon in Scarlet and Violet. I kid you not. It's way faster. In Legends Arceus, some Pokemon, the way the game works, you can actually run up to a Pokemon and just throw a ball at it before it even spots you. Before you even need to sneak, you can just run up to it and throw a ball.
That way, where you either expand your Pokedex, build up your team, or get experience. Now you have to sneak and then target, and then if that doesn't,
You don't have to sneak, but you only play 2 hours of the game to where you were like sneaking in the wide open and then complain that a ball works like a ball IRL.
work. Now you have to go into a longer battle system to get the same output.
It's not a longer battle system.
So yes, just more tedium. And that means we're likely to get very similar progression gating like we saw in Pokemon Legends Arceus. Until you get the higher tier Pokeballs, catching Pokemon is like pulling teeth or trying to get like a.
That's been the same thing since Generation 1. Until you beat the third gym leader, you only actually let me think about this. Let me think about Hoenn. Until you beat like the first gym leader, the second gym leader, you don't get Great Balls until you beat that second gym leader. If I can remember. And that's like, I don't know, if you're not using speed up like an hour of gameplay before you can actually get the Great Balls. It's been like that since 1990s, bro. I hate to break it to you.
Higher level Pokemon and accelerate your adventure through skill. Pokemon Legends just did not let that happen
It did.
by making the battle system just not make any sense, changing all the catching rates and changing all the damage.
You said it didn't. You're complaining about needing to sneak and changing catch rates. They buffed the catch rates so you're able to catch Pokemon without battling. This is why your points don't make any sense. You contradict yourself.
Calculations just to make your life harder for no reason. So it looks like these features are also just going to make your life harder to artificially inflate gameplay, like we saw Pokemon Legends, the same series. So that's not like oh, well, you just have to wait and see. I mean, we can already see how this is going to play out.
We actually can't see how long the battles actually take. They never show us this. They only show us the end of battles and start of battles. They never show how much damage the battle, like how much damage stuff does. It doesn't show us like. Actually, no, it does show us mid battle. Because you can actually. Can you catch a Pokemon while still battling it? I think you have to actually knock it out before throwing. I'm not 100% sure. But they show us the battles. They show us like Totodile hitting Tepig and the game not needing to think about, oh, uh, I need to load up the menus now. It never does that. It actually takes a shorter amount of time to two-shot that Tepig. But okay.
Inside of the trailer, and it's also a flaw with how the catching goes in Pokemon Legends. Game Freak doesn't want you easy spam catching or spam battling and then trivializing the game, at least until like the mid game you start snowballing just off a strategy. We also see that in the trailers where like, oh, Mega Kangaskhan comes out, it can use Bulldoze and that KOs multiple Pokemon at once. It's like until you unlock Megas, the game is just going to be slow and tedious as you get your.
Okay, until you unlock. You said. Okay, hold on. Let me make sure I got this right.
At least until like the mid game you start snowballing just off with how the catching goes in Pokemon Legends. Game Freak doesn't want you easy spam catching or spam battling and then trivializing the game, at least until like the mid game you start snowballing just off a strategy.
But when has that ever been a thing? And why can that be a critique for Pokemon Legends ZA and not a critique as a Pokemon series as a whole? No game in the Pokemon series actually allows you to just catch every Pokemon. To just spam catch it, you say. Not even in Scarlet and Violet. In Scarlet and Violet, you can't even catch Pokemon without initiating a battle. The only game where you can really spam catch is Pokemon Let's Go. And even the catching in Let's Go is so clunky with its motion controls that it just doesn't work.
We also see that in the trailers. We're like, oh, Mega Kangaskhan comes out, it can use Bulldoze, and that KOs multiple Pokemon at once. It's like until you unlock Megas, the game is just going to be slow and tedious as you get your hand held and interrupted every 5 steps.
Until you unlock the wall area, Hop sits there and tells you about the fucking flowers in the flower field like every other round, like every other route.
Much like what we saw in Pokemon Legends Arceus. What made the game unplayable is like the first couple hours, you take like 3 steps and then there's a cutscene, and then you do like
The first couple hours, I want to see what his opinion is on Pokemon Ultra Sun and Ultra Moon. Or all of Gen 7, I should say. The first 2 hours of Pokemon Legends Arceus is all of Pokemon Ultra Sun and Ultra Moon. And the same amount of time it takes to get to the wild area in Pokemon Sword and Shield, where the entire game is literally tutorials. And inside of the wild area, you also have more tutorials.
2 things, and there's another 5 minute cutscene, and then you're just like not allowed to have freedom for a while. So, oh boy.
What Pokemon game has a tutorial? What Pokemon game has a tutorial that lets you go wherever you want? Like, what is happening here? I really need to know. I really need you to do a retrospective of every Pokemon game because at this point, I'm trying to figure out, unless we're talking about like fucking Generation 1, like what?
The next game in Legends is just going to do the same thing. Fun. I already did a video dismantling the entire battle system, so go watch that if you have.
I'm not gonna watch that video because I already know all you're gonna say is the whole time is this is a thing, this doesn't make sense, on to the next thing. Oh, no, no, no. What you're gonna say is this is a thing. This wasn't in Scarlet and Violet. This doesn't make sense because it wasn't in Scarlet and Violet. And so we're gonna go to the next thing that doesn't make sense because it wasn't in Scarlet and Violet or my beloved Sword and Shield. That's all you're gonna say about those, but okay.
Haven't, and that's another reason why I opened the video the way I did, because I actually haven't seen any valid like counterpoints or rebuttals to anything I said in the video. Your Pokemon follow you. Your trainer movement causes you to.
Your Pokemon doesn't always follow you. They don't. They don't always follow you. They do follow you, but you can command them not to. We see this in the Totodile and Tepig battle.
Drag the Pokemon through. That is awful gameplay. And that is going to be how your battles are focused, and that is how you have to like engage with trainers. So we don't like one thing we don't know is if you can avoid trainer battles like in Pokemon Scarlet and Violet, or if there's just going to be a ton of forced trainer battles with like rivals or for story progression, and then it just feels even more awful. And an idea that comes from the video is
There are forced trainer battles in every poke. What is the
okay, well then why didn't they make real-time Pokemon battles just have you completely control the Pokemon? Well, they didn't, so that's like extra points against Pokemon Legends. You completely control the Pokemon. Okay, well then why didn't they make real-time Pokemon battles just have you completely control the Pokemon? Well, they didn't, so that's like extra points against Pokemon Legends.
why? Why is that? Why is this like a critique for Pokemon Legends ZA specifically and not for the rest of the Pokemon games, barring fucking. Actually, I couldn't say Scarlet and Violet for this. Why is this a critique for this game specifically and not the others? Like, I'm so lost. I've never been more lost watching a video.
But then we can also see, well, it doesn't work inside of Pokemon. People didn't realize that what they were asking for is not compatible with the main series games.
It is. Generation does this perfectly. The only problem I can see with this thing being is that maybe if this was in like Scarlet and Violet engine and like a Gen 10 thing, that maybe like it could make like transitioning to your Pokemon slower. But I again don't know how this is a critique to Pokemon ZA specifically if no other Pokemon game has done it in the past.
games because you have to like control your trainer for like catching and stuff. At the same time, you're controlling your Pokemon. You can't really have like dodge and jump spams.
You can have dodge. You literally can't have dodge. A Vivillon, a Pyroar is shooting a flamethrower at Vivillon and they're dodging. Totodile is literally dodging in that Pokemon battle. You start off the battle dodging the rollout. So I'm confused again on what the problem is here.
I saw a couple comments about like Poke Park. That if you play Poke Park, that's kind of how the combat feels. But then you just look at gameplay, and it's just like jump, jump, dodge, get behind the Pokemon, hit it, run around, jump, jump, dodge, get behind the Pokemon, and hit it. So like dodge
That's because the entire game you're just playing as a Pikachu.
spam in action games, that's where a big balance point can just make the system not even that good. Now,
Because you're playing as a Pikachu. That's why that doesn't work. It doesn't work like that in Pokemon Gens from my understanding, nor Pokemon Reloaded.
to remedy something like that, you need a stamina system, which does not work in main series
It does. It literally does.
Pokemon at all, because now we have a new stat and new interactions to consider, or else like yeah, without stamina, there's just big spamming and stuff, and then that could also like probably create metas or optimal lines of play where it's like yeah, just
Why are we thinking about the optimal line of play of a fucking Pokemon RPG? Of a single player RPG? Why are we thinking about it? See, this is why I don't understand you. You're trying to think of the single player RPG as meta defining, as fucking meta changing. Like, it's not gonna change the Pokemon meta. You have Pokemon champions. Why are we talking about the optimal play of a fucking single player game? Why are you looking at me like that? Please change your avatar. Why are you looking at me like that?
invest all of your EVs or IVs or stats into stamina, or Pokemon with the highest amount of staminas, they can just jump and dodge until the other Pokemon gets tired out, and then you get free attacks or something. So that's a problem. And then it's like, okay, now you have to dodge or do other things while balancing and juggling all the moves, while also juggling your trainers so they can be in position for throwing a Pokeball. That also made me realize, like, well, the catching mechanic is kind of stupid, because with the aiming targeting, that was not a good part of Pokemon Legends. It didn't add.
It was so you don't accidentally catch the wrong Pokemon. Like, holding ZL is not that hard of a thing to do unless you don't have fucking fingers. It's so that you don't, like, imagine if a Pokemon was behind you and the trainer does a fucking 360 to catch that Pokemon behind you. That's why they added fucking that's why they added aiming in the first place, so you know what you're throwing at.
Add to the gameplay, mostly because it was just so clunky and forced. Where it's like, got it.
It's not forced. You can aim at whatever you want. You can argue that the aim assist does snap onto the Pokemon, but that's not forced. You can unaim. You could move it away from one Pokemon to another. You can even like, even when you're aiming and there's a Pokemon right beside it, you can literally snap onto that second Pokemon if you want to, or not anything at all.
It was that whole sequence of like, oh, you got to sneak up on the Pokemon. You got to
You don't have to.
go in the grass, depending on their behavior. You throw the Pokeball. Oh, the catch rates are just nerfed, so you don't catch it.
They're buffed. They're literally buffed. I saw you, I literally saw you catch a fucking Shinx first try in a Pokeball. It was like level 5. It was like the first Shinx before you crossed the bridge. I want you to do the same thing in BDSP. We can run a test, bro. We can both like sit in a Discord call and run a test on catching a Shinx in BDSP versus fucking Legends Arceus. And we could like do it for like fucking 5 minutes. First person to catch the most fucking Shinx wins. Oh my god, this thing's like fucking 40 minutes, bro. I don't know if I can make it through the whole video.
Anyways, now it's angry. Now you got to behave differently. It's way too much of a chore to do anything in these kind of catching systems. And then like if it's auto targeting, well then yeah, you don't have to have any control over the player, which could break immersion where it's like, "Oh, your Pokemon dodges, the enemy Pokemon just zaps your trainer or like hits a trainer, but it phases through them because the trainer isn't actually a part of
But that never happens in Legends Arceus and has never shown to happen here. Why would they now introduce that when attacking the player is literally a main thing that you have to worry about in this game and Legends Arceus.
battle. They're just a cosmetic cardboard cutout waiting.
Are you fucking stu- are you stupid? Are you dumb?
To just throw the Pokeball, which then automatically goes. And then that system starts to feel jank, but that's also not what we have in Pokemon Legends ZA. We have an objectively worse thing than like more control over our Pokemon and battles, and now it's like this is not Pokemon. This is what I'm talking about with
What do you mean it's not Pokemon? Hold on, let me see. I want him to explain how it's not Pokemon. Hold on.
like everything in Pokemon Legends ZA is a downgrade to either Pokemon Legends, other main series game, or is just bad, where the trainer is in the middle of the Pokemon battle court. That doesn't even happen in the anime because people are saying like, oh, it needs to be like anime battles. Anime battles
Okay, so for one, they're not always battling in a fucking field, for one. For two, of course it's not gonna be like the anime. It's a fucking video game. The anime is based off of the game. For three, hold on. What else did you say?
or is just bad, where the trainer is in the middle of the Pokemon main. Talk about like everything in Pokemon Legends ZA is a downgrade to either Pokemon Legends, other main series game,
For three, I literally named like three upgrades in this very video alone.
or is just bad, where the trainer is in the middle of the Pokemon battle court. That doesn't even happen in the anime because people are saying like, oh, it needs to be like anime battles. Anime battles are stupid. Anime battles are just saying dodge and counter until plot armor carries whoever.
What? I could name like I can name like 60 battles where dodge is never said, by the way. Nor is. Have you never seen a fight before? Actually, have you never seen a fight before? And it doesn't even have to be like a fight in an anime, it doesn't have to be a fight in a Pokemon. Do you think it's stupid that people would want to not get hit? What? I'm so lost, bro. I've never been so fucking.
Is supposed to win and is predetermined to win. So despite being real time with action elements, there's actually less skill expression in anime style Pokemon battles
There's more skill expression. You have to time the. You have to time protect. That's skill. You have to dodge Pokemon moves. That's skill. You have to time your moves accordingly. So yeah, you have to time your moves accordingly so you have enough moves to use for your next turn. And you can't even spam all of the moves. In this very screenshot, it says here that you're stuck to using Protect until you're done using Protect. You can't use Protect and instantly go into a Bullet Punch and instantly go into a Dragon Pulse. That's just not how that works.
than the turn based Pokemon battles we've always had. And then there's also just like weird
There's actually all of those like elements of type matchups still apply here as well. So you have to learn about type matchups while being attacked by a Pokemon, while even in a trainer battle where you're not being attacked by a Pokemon. I'm not 100% sure because again I haven't played the game, but the AI could at any time switch right before a Pokemon gets hit. So then you have to predict when to attack, when to switch out, like all of those core like elements are still there. So I'm confused on what elements are we like talking about when turn based?
stuff where
Even in turn based, it's still slower than everything here. I mean, yeah, it's still slower because you because the VGC side that you're thinking of is like playing a game of chess. What I'm looking at here is speed chess. That's the comparison. And you want the game to be slower to quote unquote be faster, which is a contradictory of itself. Your earlier argument was that the battle system was too slow, and now your argument is that it's too realistic and too fast, and because of that, it's unskillful.
Leech Seed one-shots Pokemon. So if you like bring in elemental effects, now you're complicating things, and then you're just throwing
Leech Seed doesn't one-shot a Pokemon in this. We haven't seen Leech Seed once in this entire What do you have like? Do you have like some unknown footage that we don't have? Like, is there some footage like that you've seen that we haven't seen?
away like all the like you're making entirely new systems and damage calculations and move interactions on the fly. That's just not going to be
It's not on the fly. We've seen the evolution of this. This is literally an evolution of Legends Arceus strong style and fucking agile style attacks. They're just making it better and faster.
good, and it's not worth the investment for Pokemon, which has mastered turn base, and that's also what's made it the largest.
It hasn't mastered turn based. If it mastered turn based, people would have loved Scarlet and Violet. The turn based system would have been praised, but it hasn't been recently because of the fact this is the reason like we want the system to change because they clearly can't master it. Why does a battle in Scarlet and Violet take? Why does when a fucking Tauros runs up to me, it takes like up to like 5 minutes for me to get out of that battle? That's not mastery of turn base.
Largest franchise in the world. So another comparison I made is like, okay, you have this, or you just go play Monster Hunter. You go play a franchise that has made it about the action combat, and it's not child focused, so they can have much better systems. Main this game
You can say the same thing about Scarlet and Violet. So you don't. So okay, hold on. So you don't want Pokemon to evolve. That's what we're saying here. That we want Pokemon to be the same thing that it was back in Gen 1. Is that what you want for Lisify? You don't want Pokemon to evolve. You don't want it to succeed. You don't want it to change. You just want it to stagnate until it dies off. Because eventually, if every single Pokemon was like if every single game was like what you're saying, if every single game was like Generation 1, was like Generation 2. I'm trying to think of a if Generation 1 didn't innovate like it, I mean, Generation 2 didn't innovate off of Generation 1 like it did, then it would have died. And you're saying that you want it to stagnate now. Pokemon has been trying to evolve since Generation 1. I'm just so confused why you haven't seen that and haven't, like, and thinking and not wanting it to change at all.
around children means, yeah, your Pokemon follow you, and like we saw weird stuff in the trailer, like, well, your attacks just land against opponents. So
They don't. They don't. They don't always land on the opponent. The only time we saw it landing towards the opponent is because they didn't like dodge or anything, in which they could change or fix.
the AI is based on how much they dodge or not, or how much auto targeting you get. And that might be weird if, like, halfway through the story, when the difficulty needs to kick up a little bit, you just start missing for no reason.
You don't miss for no reason. You miss because you didn't have good timing. You miss because you didn't time your moves correctly.
But even in the trailer, we saw nothing miss. That was a level 59 Altaria versus like a level.
Because he flame wheel into a stealth rock. Are we stupid? So please, Realistify. Tell me how we're supposed to miss a stealth rock. Tell me how we're supposed to miss a bulldoze. The only argument you can probably say that for is Totodile and Tepig. You cannot say this for the screenshot on screen. You cannot.
Level 57 Mega Absol, and Mega Absol landed the Stone Edge.
Yes, he landed the Stone Edge because this was fucking close range. Missing, even, I'm pretty sure people think missing in a Pokemon game is fucking stupid, actually. I've seen that argument go around that missing in a Pokemon game is stupid, and now you want us to miss.
So like maybe more area of effect, more accuracy, and that's kind of like the weird thing. There's more like accuracy interactions in the turn-based than what we see here, and you can apparently just dodge everything by moving your trainer.
The other trainer can dodge too. They show us Tepic dodging. I don't know how many times I have to bring up Tepic and Totodile here. Just go watch that again. Because you clearly didn't watch it correctly the first time.
To the left, and then your Pokemon follows you and just kind of drag it out. So like the battles are going to be just so clunky and unplayable, and this is what they showed. This is how they are advertising the game. This is the product. Can it get a little better? Most likely not, because the majority of the game's development is already done. Game's years into development. It's coming out later this year. They don't finish the game the week before the release date and go, oh man, guys, we cut it close, but we got it done. No, it's months out when it's completed because you have to have distribution.
And we have the only thing that's wrong with the game right now is something that they could possibly update, and that's the graphics and possibly textures. But that's possibly. And even then, they look pretty decent. Everything in the game looks good or decent.
And then even with a day one patch, we've never seen any kind of jump from like 1.0 to 1.1 completely change systems.
Because why would we completely change a system if it's good? You haven't even played it to know if the system is good or not. And I know what you're gonna do too. You're gonna get on stream. You're going to play the game for an hour. You're gonna complain about it while being absolutely fucking stupid. I can't say the other word. While being fucking stupid. And then you're gonna fucking delete the game and go play fucking Pokemon Unite or something because you're just you, bro. You're just not a good content creator. I'm sorry.
And by showing the higher level battles in the trailer, well, that shows the gameplay has been like tested and fleshed out to that degree. Same thing with the Megas. So even deeper systems.
Wait. So you know the game has been fleshed out and tested, right? And you're saying that the system doesn't is going to be clunky. So is it going to be clunky? Is it going to be buggy? Or is it going to be fleshed out? Those are also contradictory words. You can't have those words in the same sentence and make it work. You just can't.
Inside the battle, they already have been set up and made, so we're not going to see completely drastic changes from that. Also, there's like the weird thing where Pokemon Legends ZA was announced last year in 2024 without any gameplay, and who even knows? I think even from the Terra leak, there was something about like, yeah, it was actually supposed to release sooner, but got delayed somehow, maybe, or pushed back.
It got delayed because they needed more time to. They obviously needed more time to make the system more fleshed out, like you said.
Or whatever. So this is what Pokemon Legends ZA looks like with more time in the oven than any other main series Pokemon.
And it already runs better than Scarlet and Violet. It already runs better and looks better than Legends Arceus. It already runs better than Scarlet and Violet, looks better than Legends Arceus, and more creative and free. Way more creative and ambitious than Sword and Shield or Let's Go.
Games because we had a year without a Pokemon game, and then before that was DLC. So this is like full Game Freak development attention, and this is what they had to show the year of release. And then going back to what I say about Pokemon Legends just being a completely careless franchise.
Okay, he's gonna go into the starters here. I don't care. My opinion on the starters is that they could have changed it, but I actually like it because it adds like unpredictability to you can't predict Game Freak in the Switch era, and I actually like that they did this. Also, Chikorita had more love. But they could have done better with the starters, but like honestly, I like this line here. That's just me personally.
Anything else here. And then we have the rivals and the people of Lumio City, and once again, this shows like it's either careless or stupid or way too much of
Oh
a dumbed
boy.
down children game to be enjoyable in any capacity. Because while they can come on strong at times, they like helping people and Pokemon.
Your favorite games are Let's Go and Sword and Shield, and Hop is literally that person. Hop is worse than what's being described on screen. Hal is worse than what's being described on screen. Fucking who's your fucking rival in fucking the rival in Pokemon Let's Go is worse than what's being shown on screen. This actually describes Nemona, which is, in my opinion, one of the best rivals in the entire series. But yeah. It's a kids game, so it's gonna be bad, guys. It has bad battling systems. This is the reason why, because fucking the rivals are ass or some shit. Yeah, good job, good job. We're coping, guys. I'm just coping.
That just means they're going to be annoying.
I really want to know his opinion on Hop. I really want to know his opinion on Hop. I have to know it. I have to know his opinion on Hop because if he says Hop is a good rival, there's no way that he can say these are bad rivals.
And that, for some reasons, like, can't even have good characters anymore, even in the experimental game of Pokemon Legends. Let's start with the basics. A Pokemon trainer is someone who battles with Pokemon. It is 2025.
Oh, okay. I didn't see the screenshot. This is actually fucking hilarious. Okay, this is a bad line. This is literally a bad line. Oh wait, did I mute the video? Even the even my PC doesn't even want to hear what this guy has to say anymore. But yeah, this is bad. I think
99% of players that are going to be playing this do not need to be talked down to and patronized like this.
but at the same time, okay, so if this was in okay, so yeah, this is a bad line in a Legends game because Legends game is made for like more of the hardcore fans and the casual fans. That's a given. Yeah. This is a bad line for a Legends game. But for like the main generation games, you have to realize that every single mainline game could be someone's first.
So it just kind of shows, like, yep, it's go. And also, we have the other part of Pokemon Legends with Pokemon Legends Arceus already kind of doing things where it's like Pokemon are terrifying creatures, and
Yeah, because they are terrifying creatures. I don't think you've encountered a single alpha Pokemon in your playthrough from what I can remember. I think you like avoided Rapidash. I don't think you encounter Rapidash or Snorlax. I have to go back and watch it, but I don't think you did.
we don't know how Pokemon trainering works. So we're just going.
Because it's in the fucking past and they don't have Pokemon trainers in the past. Like you can make this argument, this argument works for this game because this is after X and Y where there's a bunch of Pokemon trainers, but you can't make that argument for Legends Arceus because Pokemon are actually terrifying creatures in that game. They actually go out of their way to attack you. They don't trust you. Alpha Pokemon attack you. The noble Pokemon are now raging. Like that works for that game because that game is about Pokemon being dangerous creatures.
Going to do it all and we're going to learn it all together. Which is another funny thing about Pokemon Legends fans, where they're just like, yeah, well, this game is going to be for like the older Pokemon fans that want
It literally is.
to see things be different, and then
Things are different.
you actually just get like a dumbed down, more childish version of the game.
It's not a childish version of the game. Did we play? We didn't. Well, actually, we bought the same copy of Legends Arceus, but I don't know what game you were playing. You must have had a recording of Legends Arceus on screen and been playing a different game because Pokemon, like again, Pokemon are dangerous in that game. That game has more is way more mature than other Pokemon games are, especially games like Let's Go and Sword and Shield. And Scarlet, even more mature than Scarlet and Violet, even though Scarlet and Violet can get like its end game is pretty dark, but
Pokemon Legends Arceus being like more of a children's game than Pokemon Let's Go.
that's false. That's completely false. That is the most bullshit thing you've ever said this entire everything wrong with. That is the worst thing that you could have ever said. That is the worst argument. That is the worst argument you could have made if you wanted people to believe you. Because that is false. I haven't heard anything more false in my life. That is the most absurd thing anyone could ever say to me. Like, I could pull up screenshots of what Legends Arceus looks like compared to Let's Go, and if I were to walk to a random person in the street, I would ask them, hey, which one looks more mature? This childish fucking vibrant ass game, aka Let's Go, where the Pikachu is literally cuddling with you the entire game, and you could fucking dress it up in fucking shades, sunflower shades, or this fucking game where Pokemon have fucking red eyes and are charging at you, trying to kill you, while fucking while the noble Pokemon are fucking raging attacking you, where you literally fight God in the game who is also trying to kill you, where you're fighting Volo and there's a fucking phase 2 with a fucking Guitar Rift where he transformed into his demonic form. Like, bro, like, what is this fucking what? I've never heard a dumber argument than this one. This one's it right here, folks. This is the dumbest thing Verlisify has ever said. This is the dumbest thing Verlisify has ever said. I can't name anything dumber. I just can't.
You can already see that for Pokemon Legends ZA. So it's like, oh yeah, anyone that even played Pokemon Legends Arceus as their first game, even if they were very young and now kind of feel a little bit more confident inside of Pokemon, they get to re-experience being just babied again.
They weren't babied. You played the game for 2 hours. I'm so confused. Where what? You played the game for 2 hours. You played an hour-long tutorial, complained about it, and a tutorial that was needed because it was a game with new mechanics and new settings, and you complained about it for like 2 whole hours. The second hour you played the game, you ran straight up to the fucking boss of the first area, nearly got killed by it, and now you're calling it a kid baby holding game when you compared the game to Dark Souls. You called it a Souls-like. You said compared to Souls-like. So obviously the game isn't made for fucking babies. You aren't being babied in the game. I don't even remember you like running up to fucking Alpha Rapidash and getting your shit rocked in. Because you didn't. You played the game in a linear way. And then apparently you're being babied through everything. Like what?
And that also shows it's going to be the same as Pokemon Legends Arceus for the first couple of hours where you can't take 5 steps without getting instructed about something. Then we have
I really need to know this guy's opinion on Ultra Sun and Ultra Moon and Sun and Moon. I really need to know. Like his opinion on all of the 3DS Pokemon games. And then possibly his opinion on fucking Diamond and Pearl. Like I need to because I don't understand that tutorial's needed and wanted, but not every 5 steps you're being stopped. After you get out of the tutorial, you're not stopped anymore. You have to physically go out to to progress the story.
the biggest downgrade in the entire history of gaming. Oh yeah, also Pokemon Legends ZA is so lazy that they haven't even said what time frame this takes place in. That's
It tells you right there. I'm looking at it. I'm literally looking at it. I'm looking at it, bro. It tells you right there. Compared to Lumio City as it appeared in X and Y, it's now more greenery. There's more greenery now. Alongside facilities. You can look at the fucking image of the fucking website that shows the city and see that it has evolved and grew. Not even in Legends. I can't name a single Pokemon game where it specifically tells you it's this year that it takes place in.
kind of like one of the first things you do if you have a sequel version or if you're trying to tell some kind of story 10 years after the event.
The only game that does this is Black 2 and White 2. That's the only game that does it. I'm pretty sure it says 3 years after. Not even, not even Johto the sequel. From what I'm probably wrong about this, but from what I can remember in Gold, Silver, and Crystal, it doesn't even tell you like how many years passed after Kanto. If I'm not, I might be mistaken because I don't remember much about those games. I don't like them. Besides those two, I can't think of a Pokemon game that tells you the exact year of when they take place. And even then, that's probably going to be explained in game and never told you in the website of those games. Okay, no. I remember from Pokemon Black 2 and White 2, even though I was a fucking little toddler, fucking still peeing my pants. I remember from Black 2 and White 2 website, it didn't tell you what time period it took place in following Black and White. It told you that in game.
Events of Pokemon X and Y, the city is undergoing redevelopment. Is that so hard? Yes, it is, because it's so careless that there's going to be plot holes if they actually pin it down to a specific time. That was a big problem.
There's not going to be any plot holes because it takes place after X and Y. You don't even know if there's going to be. You don't even know if there are plot holes or not if they specified a year. And I bet you if they did specify a year, you would have been like, oh, oh, it would have been so careless because they specified the exact year, and now it doesn't make sense with the rest of the Pokemon lore. See, that's you. That would have been you. That would have been you if they specified the year.
Problem with Pokemon Legends Arceus. If the promotional material said around 200 years ago this happened, or if there was like a quote from the trainer or some kind of blurb,
Who gives a fuck? Who honestly gives a fuck? I promise you that promoting a game takes place years after, like like 200 years before another game doesn't matter in promotion. No parent is gonna walk in a fucking GameStop and be like, "Oh, my daughter, I'm buying her a Pokemon game. I need to know if this one takes place 3 years before." Like, no one cares, dude. Oh my god, dude. I literally cannot stand this guy anymore.
we're just like, Hisui, the Sinnoh region hasn't been called that in 150 years, then there would definitely be plot holes since we already have the established lore of the Sinnoh region. That Hisui doesn't exist. It's like the name Hisui just kind of shows, oh,
It does exist. It is stated in Pokemon BDSP that it existed, if I'm not mistaken. It literally does exist. We know there's an old region. We know there's an old version of Sinnoh. Even in Platinum, we know that Sinnoh is revelatory, literally evolved from a different region. But you didn't. You probably played those games for. You probably played Platinum for like 30 minutes and then got off of it and went to go play fucking, I don't know, Animal Crossing or something and complained that people's islands were cheated.
oh, it's a careless fanfic. Also,
It's not a careless fanfic. It does more to help Sinnoh's lore than it does to hurt it. The only thing that's that could be like a paradox is the fact that the player goes back in time, and even then, that's not really that important. And that same lore is used in Scarlet and Violet, the game you literally praised. I'm pretty sure.
the rest of the Pokemon world exists. AZ is walking around by this point. We already had the Pokemon War, so people were catching and taming Pokemon. Johto, again, curveballs were already long established.
No, 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 no. You've never watched a Pokemon movie. 150 years, right? Let me look up when the Kalos War happened. I'm pretty sure the Kalos War actually happened after fucking Hisui. Oh wait. Uh Actually, it's never. It doesn't say a specific time period. It just says far in the past in Legends Arceus. It never says specifically how far into the past. I don't know where you got 150 years before Sinnoh, but that is completely false.
before then. And then we have the professor who's going to these other regions and getting Pokemon from these other regions.
Even then, the Kalos is a different side of the world than Sinnoh is. Kalos is in like fucking France, I'm pretty sure, France area. Sinnoh is literally in Japan. You have to cross all of Asia to get from, like,
Including Unova, which already had a kingdom.
Unova takes place in the American, like, if we're using like real world applications here, I'm not sure what the Pokemon map looks like, but Unova, if we're using real world applications here, Unova takes place in a completely different side of fucking Sinnoh as well. And we didn't already have kingdoms by then. We didn't have kingdoms 3,000 years ago in the Pokemon world.
Established, and he's from Galar, so the darkest day has happened. The rest of the Pokemon world is already established, and
Okay, but the darkest day happening doesn't correlate with people already knowing how to catch Pokemon. In that lore, in the call, and why are we talking about Pokemon lore already? You're saying dude. Nothing in Galar insinuates people were already able to catch Pokemon by the time the Darkest Day happened. All that's stated is that one guy is able to command a sword and a shield, which is later revealed to be Pokemon, in which people didn't know. So mainly people knew that the fucking kings took down Eternatus, not that the dogs did. So no, people didn't know how to catch Pokemon back then. Are you fucking stupid? Did we play the same games? Do you need a recap? Realistify, please add me on Discord, bro, so we can watch a Pokemon history recap together.
people know how to catch and train Pokemon and develop societies, but somehow, just like 100 something years ago,
It wasn't 100 years ago. It just says far in the past.
Sinnoh didn't exist despite having the rich and deep lore already. And then there's arbitrarily primitive people in the Hisui region, even though, again, we have like trade.
Okay, but what does okay, okay. Let's say this was a thing, right? What does that have to do? It would have been a better comparison if you did Black 2 and White 2 as a comparison of this. Because your point isn't gonna make, I promise you, you're gonna add all of this. Okay, let me guess what this guy's gonna say. This guy's gonna say, because of the stuff that happens in Pokemon Legends Arceus, Pokemon ZA is now careless because of AZ just existing there, and it doesn't make any sense. It just doesn't make any sense.
And commerce and the ability to travel to this region
Watch
from
it. He's
other
gonna say it
established
doesn't make any
regions, but
sense.
Pokemon are terrifying creatures. And then it's just complete nonsense
That's
pandering and fan
nonsense.
service with the
Okay.
clans and
He's
Almighty
gonna say this
Fido,
is
and people are
nonsense
supposed to go,
because of
oh, that's the
AZ.
thing. No, Pokemon Legends did absolutely nothing to clarify the lore or set up the history of the Sinnoh region. It just threw it all away and wrote a fanfic. So Legends completely careless. And then same thing with like, bro, there's a million ways to mess up AZ. And no matter what, it's kind of going to be canon, however they play this out. But I really don't like this. He claims to be 3,000 years old.
Because he claimed to be 3,000 years old. What is the problem? He could still be 3,000 years old.
This is taking place after Pokemon X and Y. The
Okay.
entire city and all the authorities in the Kalos region were there as the man from the story walked up, battled the champion, and then the Floette from the story came down from the sky to return to the king. After that, you have to believe the man. Also, we just had
You don't have to believe him after that. There's a reason why it's called a folklore. It wasn't, not everyone believed The tail. Actually, it's called a tail. Not everyone believed that was even a Z either. Actually, they probably believed the tail. Even if they did believe the tail and believe that was really a Z, they could still not believe that he's 3,000 years old. But even then, he could still claim to be 3,000 years old and still be 3,000 years old, and people could still believe him. It's like if I claimed that this game is good, people could still believe that the game is good, even before me making that claim. And the reason that they worded it like they did is because we're not even from the Kalos region in this game. The reason they worded it like they did is because we're not from the Kalos region. We literally arrive on a train and live in a hotel. Wording is important, my friend.
Turn to the king. After that, you have to
Oh
believe
god,
the
this
man.
video's
Also, we
fucking
just
hour.
had battles with the actual incarnations of life and death, and the ultimate weapon,
Okay, we had battles. No one else was there to witness those battles except fucking, I forgot his name, the Team Flare guy. Lysander. Him and our rivals was the only one to witness that.
steals life forces and stuff. So sure, he can live for 3,000 years. Instead, in Pokemon Legends ZA, he's treated like a crazy homeless man for that claim.
He owns a hotel. What? He literally owns a hotel. Where's this creepy homeless man mentality coming from when he owns a hotel named after him? Hotel Z? Oh my god. Like, you should have used, like, an old man, like, comparison, but using, like, a homeless man, crazy homeless man comparison just doesn't, like, work. Your arguments don't work.
And we even see with our rivals, these guys live and work at the hotel, supporting the owner however they can. So AZ is the owner of a rundown hotel who needs kids to help them, and he can't pay them, so they get to live.
In Sword and Shield, the champion needs a kid's help to bring balance back to the region. But a kid helping AZ with the hotel is just fucking insane. It's fucking crazy, right? It's insanity. It's fucking it's fucking unbelievable that a kid can do kid things in a Pokemon world. It's fucking unbelievable, bro. It's in, a man who traveled around the world. He was a homeless man before even meeting Floette, and now that he has a home, he's acting like a homeless man. It's so fucking unbelievable, bro. I'm literally I'm as distraught. I'm as mind blown as you are.
Live there for their help. I also think Quasartico makes no sense and is lazy and is probably setting up some kind of fan service or pandering twist where it's like, yep, that's just Colress's mom, ooh, or something where like how there was just meaningless tie-ins and everyone had a relative for no reason.
Everyone had a relative because it took place in the past. My throat hurts. I've been talking for so long. She had an ancestor because it took place in the fucking past, you fucking stupid fucking dog. Oh my god. Like, I don't hate furries at all. I think you guys are chill. But this one specifically is I'm a hate on him because he's fucking stupid. I can't even like this might as well be a critique for Assassin's Creed 3. Any Assassin's Creed game that takes place in the past. Where your main character is the ancestor and now that doesn't make any sense. Because they're just the ancestors. These are made up characters, apparently.
Inside of Pokemon Legends Arceus because Arceus did not respect the existing history of Pokemon and lore. It was just a fan.
No, that's not the reason. Are you saying Arceus self or the game? Because it did respect the lore. You played the game for 2 hours.
fanfic. It was just a lazy fanfic for no reason. And Quasartico makes no sense because we just had Lysander Labs. So after the last mega corporation tried to kill everyone on Earth, the Kalos region and Lumio City is just going to trust the next mega corporation of dubious intent.
Now I need to know your opinion on Black 2 White 2 when Neoplasma shows up. Because the same argument can be made there for allowing another evil team to show up, calling themselves Team Plasma 2. And even then, no one in the city was aware that Lysander was a bad person or that Team Flare was a part of Lysander until he announced that he was going to destroy the world. I don't see what mega corporations have to do with anything. In Johto, they let Team Rocket take over a radio tower and exist again. But to be fair, like Team Rocket was underground, but Neo Team Plasma was just free to run around the whole city. Now I need to know your opinion on that.
To go, we gotta give the city back to the Pokemon. No respect for the source material, no
What do you mean there's no respect for the... Wait,
understanding to trust the next mega corporation of dubious intent to go, we gotta
they don't have dubious intent. And they aren't giving the city back to the Pokemon. Their whole thing is to coexist with the Pokemon. We said that you said that didn't make sense earlier, and it's not making sense because you're not understanding what you're reading. You're stupid.
give the city back to the Pokemon. No respect for the source material, no understanding of the implications of the new fake story they're trying to tell. This
So is Black 2 and White 2 fake stories that they're trying to tell because it takes place after Black and White and they let Neo Team Plasma run free again?
is a lazy story that doesn't make sense with her leading the
Yep, it doesn't make sense, guys. I know why it doesn't make sense now. I'm fine. This entire like hour and 22 minutes I spent on this, I realize why it doesn't make sense. And it's because he's not reading, or he is reading and not like understanding what's on the screen.
redevelopment plan with the aim of shaping the city into one that belongs to both people and Pokemon. She also hopes to deepen the bonds between Pokemon and people, as I talked about with the Wild Zones. That's just crap. And after
That's not crap, because people literally walk around in those zones. When in the overview, when you first get in the zone, there's literally a man with a business tie in that zone. They are coexisting in the area. Even if like she is a bad guy, I don't see what the problem is with that. And I find it funny that he managed. This is how you know he didn't even complete Legends Arceus to know the whole lore or story behind it, because not one time did he even mention Volo. He just mentioned that it didn't make sense because he didn't beat Legends Arceus. This is a similar plot thread with Logi with fucking. Now you can make the argument this is similar to the last Legends game because yes, Volo turned out to be evil in the end. And the whole freaking I forgot their team name. Team Galaxy. Team Galaxy. Yeah, they turned out to be evil. Now you can make that argument that it's the same as the last Legends game, but even then, again, we don't know if that's the same.
the absolute failure of Pokemon Legends Arceus to make a compelling story, I'm not going to give credit to Game Freak for this to be an actual hint of her motives, that she's actually trapping Pokemon to piss off Zygarde, and the Wild Zones is just a ruse to make Pokemon more upset and create more problems and disturbances, which is also goes into us like fixing incidents as our
And that's a good story. So why aren't you giving them credit for it? Why do you even need to give him credit for a story you made up anyway? That's probably not even the story. Even if that is the story in the game, that's a good story to follow.
Core gameplay loop. The realistic take, not just being a hater, is that you can see it doesn't look like they put a lot of thought into the depth of the story. They just kind of wrote it in more problems and disturbances, which is also goes into us like fixing incidents as our core gameplay loop. The realistic take, not just being a hater, is that you can see it doesn't look like they put a lot of thought into the depth of the story. They just kind
You are just being a hater because you didn't give a realistic take there. You're literally just hating on the material that you're looking at and not even comprehending correctly.
of wrote it as it went. It's like, well, we're taking place entirely with cities, so we have to have some kind of way of having Pokemon in here. There we go. We'll just disguise it as a redevelopment project. But like, you're actually just making horrible environments for the Pokemon. And then we have Zygarde.
No, we're making sure that the Pokemon don't come in and fucking blow up the place.
And because Zygarde has a lot of lore around it, it's kind of the one thing that Pokemon Legends ZA can't screw up, but also Pokemon Legends is a careless series that doesn't care if they screw up things or not. So that's going to be tomorrow's video. Is I'm most hopeful
No,
about the
no, I'm not watching that video. I mean, if this video does get likes and people want me to cover that video, then maybe. But I, I'm sure what he's gonna say is that fucking Zygarde, he doesn't even have enough to go off of. But anyway, if he does, I'm sure what he's gonna say is that freaking Zygarde is a dog, and that just doesn't make sense because it doesn't make sense with anything, and it's careless, and it's fucking contradictory to Pokemon X and Y because Zygarde just exists. That's all he's gonna say. That's gonna be the entire video. It's gonna be a 30-minute video on why fucking I'm losing my voice right now. It's gonna be a 30-minute fucking video on why fucking Zygarde as a dog doesn't make sense because it doesn't make sense, and Legend CA is just careless because it's careless, and RC is fucking, I don't know, fucking had sex with Palkia or Dialga, and yeah, I don't know.
Zygarde story, again, because it has such a foundation. But I think they overlook something, and it's actually just going to be a major plot hole.
They don't overlook. There's nothing to overlook. You're looking at a brief summary. What could they possibly overlook in a brief summary? Gameplay they haven't even shown you yet. Oh my god, he's probably gonna say something about the Zygarde cells. Yes, the Zygarde cells, they only existed in Alola, so they must only exist in Alola. When the Zygarde cells were literally in X and Y and even the anime, but okay.
And that's going to be hilarious if it actually fails. Outside of that, I think this can actually be a good part of the story, but we don't need Legends to tell Zygarde because that's what a Pokemon Z version would be for, which makes the tragedy of not going to.
Actually, if you play the fucking game, you'll learn that Legends Arceus actually tells the story of Almighty Sinnoh, of what the dragons in the fucking city and fucking Sinnoh, what the statue is, what it's meant to represent. It actually tells a great story. If you finish the game beyond 2 hours instead of critiquing 2 hours of gameplay and critiquing the story that you didn't even look at, that you didn't even read a word from.
Kalos even worse. We also have interviews from Junichi Masuda about like what happened to Z version. Turned out Omega Ruby and Alpha Sapphire was Z version. There's been a lot of demand from people to make Ruby Sapphire on social media. Right now felt like a really good time to do it. Instead of doing a direct sequel to X and Y, we're tying it together in some unique ways. And then we got a bigger tie-in with Pokemon Sun and Moon, because Pokemon Sun and Moon was like, oh, by the way, this is where we learn about 10% Zygarde and
We don't. We don't learn about those forms. We're given those forms. Like, there's no added lore to those forms in those games. No, you can correct me if I'm wrong. It's funny that like Verlisify doesn't say correct me, am I wrong? Because he's a narcissistic freak that thinks he's right. But correct me if I'm wrong. Note how he also only shows a single image. And he's going to use this to say that we got lore. We didn't get any lore bits about Zygarde at all, besides that he had multiple forms and Pokedex entries.
And give Zygarde its own storyline. Ah, dang, I cared too much about the truth and I spoiled tomorrow's video.
Sun and Moon doesn't have a storyline behind it.
Give Zygarde its own storyline. Ah, dang, I cared too much about the truth and I spoiled tomorrow's video. But yeah, so this is like Junichi Masuda talk about how, Z afterwards is too predictable, like a gray version, so we're trying to surprise people. And then
He never says the word gray version ever. I've seen this. He never says gray. Not one time does he say gray.
afterwards is too predictable, like a gray
Gray never
version, so
even
we're trying to
fucking comes
surprise
out.
people. And then Oras was like the tie-in. That's how they tied X and Y into the remake, and then they carried it over with Megas, and then they carried it even further into the next generation. So that was our
It wasn't carried version. It really wasn't. It wasn't carried over. See, this is how I know you didn't play Sun and Moon either. You didn't play Sun and Moon either. Because if you did, you know the whole story revolves around Sogleo and Lanuna and fucking Nebby and Lily. The story revolves around Ultra Beast, around the Sun Legendary and the Moon Legendary. Zygarde, the only thing Zygarde is mentioned is the Zygarde cells, and that's a side quest where you go and get Zygarde cells to get the forms from a random fucking NPC in a fucking Pokemon Center. Hmm. So that's how I know you didn't play Generation 7 either. So you must be a new fan. Well, you can't be a new fan because you played. I've seen you play the DS game, so I'm so confused on what are you talking about?
Z version. Instead of revisiting Kalos to have an actual legend to actually expand the story, now we're just getting something slapped in and slapped together. But at least there's enough foundation with Zygarde to where if they just play off of Zygarde's story,
Zygarde doesn't have a story. The story is there's more story in the Pokemon XYZ anime than there is in any of the games. In any of the games. I can't think of a
it's
single
going to
game except this one that expands on Zygarde's lore. All of his lore comes from the anime.
at least be a decent story. But since it's Legends, they're going to screw it up somehow, like
They're not. They had what? You don't know that.
we saw with Pokemon Legends Arceus. Now, Zygarde taking special interest to us. I think this is an interesting part of the story that can make it cool. If Zygarde is very suspicious of Jet because it sees what's going on with its tons of cells and its little scout dog, then it can go, yo, kid, I'm going to
He calls it a scout dog when that right there is Zygarde. It tells you it's. It tells you it's Zygarde. All of the Zygarde cells are just one big Zygarde. It doesn't. The Zygarde dog and the Zygarde fucking cells are different people.
kind of guide you to the truth and we can prevent stuff from going down. And then we just already have, like, yeah, complete Zygarde is going to be a part of the story. So something somewhere is going to go bad. Is this whole, like, containing Pokemon inside of the city and then mistreating them an actual ploy to get Zygarde to come out and then capture it so you can control the 100% form? Or does Zygarde just think, like, or does she have good intentions? Like, then Zygarde goes, no, this is actually, like, wrong, and then Zygarde gets pissed off somehow. Is there actually an evil organization? Who betrays who and who surprises what? I don't know. But yeah, Zygarde story could actually be pretty cool. Now, is that points for Pokemon Legends ZA potentially being a good game? Absolutely not. That is the big
So now my question is, do you play the Why is that not points? Why is a RPG game mainly focused on story not have a good story as a good point? Why? I bet he's gonna say 'cause Sun and Moon did it better, isn't he?
Bingo free space that has been gifted to Pokemon Legends ZA by much better games in the past.
Much better games in the past. There's no much better games that tells the story better. Oh, we didn't even get a chance to talk about Mega Evolutions, and he's gonna call that shit and fucking slapped him.
And then we have Mega Evolution. It has a charge meter, it has a burn down timer. It actually might make battling or clearing out large areas of Pokemon or mass catching Pokemon more interesting, but I think the game is going to suck until you get to the.
Oh my god. These are not real videos. I refuse to believe these are. This was a perfect way to end this fucking video, bro. Calling Alpha Rat a fraud and then calling Pokemon challenges evil. Anyways, if you guys haven't already, I'm gonna just give my closing thoughts. None of what he said actually makes sense. But I'm gonna just say if you're hyped for the game like I am, I'll get to you. If you're not hyped for the game, if you don't want to buy it, if you have, then good for you also. But these reasons, he's making all of that are subjective reasons, and he's making them objective reasons on why the game is bad. Because you can't objectively do that because there's always going to be a counter argument to that because those are subjective reasons on why you don't, and why you think you don't like the game as a contrarian. But anyway, if you guys haven't already, please like and subscribe, or don't. Be sure to comment. It just doesn't make any sense. I watched this video so you don't have to watch it. Anyways, see you guys.